Hi, buddy. Hope one's well and had a really good week so far. Welcome to this series of Triple Crown Industry Chat. How are you, John? How's things?
I'm good, but it's more like the double industry
Yeah,
crown chat.
we are
Mr.
one
Jerry.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we are. Jerry's had to go pick Charlotte up. Hope he doesn't mind me saying, but poor Charlotte's not very well, so we wish her all the best. To be honest, the crack's better when he's not here. So, oh, sorry,
is it?
the man has just rang.
Is it dinner time?
Honestly, we've got one of those old-fashioned Downton Abbey bells that works in the house. I mean, talk about first world problems, and it's directly above me. And I've normally got it stuffed with tissue paper because we've got like the electronic doorbell, but it's fallen out. So yeah, I'll have to get back and start stuffing the tissue paper in there.
Oh, it's good to hear something like that. I haven't heard something like that. Probably done. I watched TV a long time ago.
Honestly, it's like a doorknob, and you pull it out, and and it goes above. And because this is my office, but this used to be
The
like a
hallway.
pantry. Like I've got the original hooks on the ceiling from where I used to hang the meat and stuff. Um, and there was a bore in one of the walls when we had it plastered, and that was where the original box must have been because there was like about 10 snipped off of them little metal wires. So the
Wow.
original box where the bell was, we
Yeah.
think it was just up there. It's amazing. Every time something goes wrong with this house, we find something brand new about it that we didn't know.
And how's things been? What have you been up to over the last couple of weeks?
Good, good, good. Had the last mastermind of the year for me. So as everyone knows, I've got one-on-one coaching program. We have a quarterly mastermind, and I coincide that with my monthly mastermind. Both are held in Manchester. So we had our little Christmas get together and shindig, and that was good. Had a really good speaker, Dr. Amna Khan. I'll have to one of the people I posted in the groups, and because she's a doctor, and it looks as though she's never worked in the industry before, and it sounds as though it's all theoretical based, although it is based on industry. One of the one of the comments was, "Has she ever had a real job?" And that actually tickled me. That I thought that was quite funny. But yeah, what else did I do? Oh, yeah, I had my online training. That was good. So 20 agents, 21 agents. That was how to have a business and a job in 2023. But yeah, it's probably the same as you, Paul. Just finishing off like the events and the training, and then
Yeah.
planning for next year.
Yeah, I think right now is a great time just to catch up, do all the things on the list that you haven't got around to, and to review what worked well and what perhaps didn't work, well, and catch up. So I'm looking forward to next week just to catch up things, look at what we're going to be doing next year. So yeah, I think this time of year I actually do enjoy.
Are you
So
breaking up? When are you breaking up? Are you next week or are you?
yeah, next week. I always take the week before, not just to stop, but to do, really to work on the business. So would be just be catching up with all the systems and things that I should be doing all the time, and you probably tell me that I should be doing every day. So yeah, I'd always use that week, and also self development as well. I'll be
Yeah,
hitting the training hard, at least a few hours every day, just to catch up again. So yeah, I like this time of year, and it's just we have this conversation when you go on holiday. That's all I do as well, is just read or watch, and it's a
mm,
nice feeling to feel like you've learned something when you come back.
definitely.
So
Good,
what
good.
you talk to us this week? Because we were having a quick chat before, and you were talking about building trust with consumers being important
Mm.
with agents.
So this is something I've been sort of researching probably over the last 5 or 6 months now, and how to build trust and how to build it quicker and how to build it stronger. And we all want trust. Chris Watkin talks about know, like, and trust. It's a very well known old adage. You've got to know someone before you like them, and to like them, you've got to trust them. There's new theories about whether you actually have to like somebody to trust them, but by the by, in order to trust somebody, you've got to get to know them. You've got to have certain interactions. So
Yeah,
anyway, I've been researching it more from an academic standpoint and a theoretical standpoint, but also looking in industry. And that's what brought me to this lady that we've just mentioned, Dr. Amna Khan, and she is a consumer behavioural expert. So she at Manchester Uni. So she studies consumers and she understands why they buy, and from not only from a retail perspective but a consumer's perspective. So what does a retailer, what does a company have to do to gain the trust? Therefore, what does a consumer look in a company to trust them? And that's how I came across it, because I was researching it, saw her profile. Oh, that looks interesting. Watched a couple of videos. She's quite a well-known, I'd say definitely nationally, possibly international expert. She speaks all over. And one of the things I'm looking at is behavioral science. So that's like a book I'm about to start, using behavioral science in marketing, but there's also behavioral science and consumer expertise in building trust. So one of the things that makes us not trustworthy as agents, right, is the historical and legacy. And that's really difficult to overcome. It's a little bit like, a leopard doesn't change its spots. It's that phraseology. So it's, how do we make a leopard change its spots? Well, the only thing we can do is have interactions with people. And those interactions have to be very, very positive interactions.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, and listen, I'm ashamed, I've been guilty of it. You will have, where we just hear that somebody isn't a great person. We just hear a rumor and we automatically go, yeah, Paul's a bit of a tit. Yeah, because I've heard Jerry call him it, so he must be. Nothing could be further than the truth. You're a lovely man. But we tend to believe what other people hear and say. And that's the problem with estate agents. So we might have, Crap and Co Lettings has ripped off a tenant, or Crap and Co Lettings, Sales and Lettings has sold a dud property to somebody. So they're telling everybody that they sold a dud property. So what can we do? Well, the only thing we can do is throw a head above the parapet. So there's a lot of the guys, like content guys like Jerry definitely talks about this. I know Chris does. And it's all about your content, getting your content out there. But what sort of content? Well, you've got to look at what is the most trustworthy. So the most trustworthy interaction with anybody is meeting them, right? If I met you face to face, looked in the eye, saw your tonality, listened to your tonality, body language, I trust you. In the absence of that, it's going to be video. In the absence of that, it's going to be some sort of podcast. In the absence of that, it's going to be the written word.
Yeah.
So you've almost got to try and step your communication up to the point where you get in front of them to trust them. Not at all possible. So coming across as the expert is really a good way of building trust. Communicating at all levels, at all angles, never ever dodging a phone call, phoning back when you say you will, is a really good way of building trust. And believe it or not, speed is a good way of building trust as well. They say that speed kills, but speed actually builds trust. So, for instance,
on that, I 100% think it sets the example of how you see that person working. They come back to you quickly. You're like, wow, that was quick. How many times have you said that when you email business or you leave a message and straight away they come back to you, you come off the phone and go, wow, that was quick. Just trust.
And sort of kind of digress. It's not actually a different point. It's the same point, just elaborated, making that person feel special. So it would be things like, and it sounds really, really daft, but you want to view a house, and I'll say, oh, tell me about you. Hold on a second. Jeeves. So we talk about the family makeup of your property. Say you want to let a property and you'll say, oh, there's a lovely 2-bedroom. Me going the extra mile, saying, Paul, I tell you what, I'll take the keys for that, but I've got a couple of lovely 3-beds just around the corner. I'll take a little bit extra time out my diary and I'll show you them. And you're like, wow, would you do that for me? Yeah, of course I would, no problem. So it's making you feel special is a really good way to build trust. Every single interaction we have with anybody, that other person is building up an opinion of us every single time. So it's really important to tell your team, as difficult as it is, not to have a bad day, not to have an off day. And I mean by, you can't be bothered to talk to your customer, you can't be bothered to talk to your client. If you ever feel like that, go scream into a pillow in the toilet. Why you'd have a pillow in the toilet, I don't know. Or go outside and have a cigarette and just screaming. But when you're in the office, you've got to put that face on. You've got to put your mask on that, hi, John's here, how can I help you? Anything, nothing's too much trouble. And those little interactions will help build up trust.
They say that you can hear a smile over the phone, can't you? You know when someone's happy over the phone or smiling, and I think that's a real good example that if you come into work with the wrong, the wrong attitude, is going to be sent by the client.
Good, I mean, it's a big call center mentality up here. We had Orange before it was EE. You've got the NHS, HMRC, Npower. There's just a huge call center mentality. Barclaycard, Horizon, and one of the things they talk about is putting a smile on your dial, sitting up straight in your chair, because your body is an extension of your voice. If you're slouched, your voice is lazy. Your voice sounds lazy. So they've got certain call centers that I'm aware of have got people going around. It's not as bad as like with your cane at school. Sit up, Paul. Sit up long. But they're like, is everything okay? You look a bit slouchy. Is everything all right? Just thinking about ergonomics. They're not really. They're thinking about the way you come across. And you just think about anytime you phone up a call center, the worst thing that you can do is when somebody comes on to speak to you and they're like, ha, 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 yeah. They're already laughing because of a conversation that has gone on 10 seconds before. And you're like, you rude bugger. Like, focus everything on me. I'm phoning you up. I need your help. So, I think that's really interesting.
I think some really good points there, and that actually follows on closely to one of the points that I wanted to run through today, and that was helping to bring your leads closer to you, because what you pointed out, totally right. You've got to gain that trust. You've got to get them to know you and like you. And often agents are a little bit guilty of generating leads and thinking, right, job done. The lead's been generated. I've got a name, number, email address. I'll just put it on the CRM and hopefully they'll come back to me when ready. And there are sort of a number of things that you can do. And I think next year, I think it's more important than ever that agents do think a little bit more out of the box on using systems and processes, and I call them vehicles, ways that you can bring leads closer to you. And probably landlords are probably the hardest leads to get them to actually use your services. And that can be a long time. You've identified a landlord, and maybe that's from a landlord downloading your guide, or maybe you've just dealt with them in the past. And you talked about also getting trust and getting people to perhaps visually speak to you or see you, and in person is the best. So some of the things that I was highlighting on my webinar last week was that agents need to be thinking about webinars. They need to be thinking about perhaps landlord surgeries where they can invite landlords to come in and see them and get their documents checked. Compliance, health checks, having a call to run through that they're up to date on compliance. Maybe there's other things as well that they can bring in where they can, landlord groups, for example, Facebook groups, just where those people, those landlords and investors, don't have to commit to using your service, but they can get to hear your voice, get to trust you, get a little bit closer to you. And those sort of things are going to speed up the process of them using your services, because until they actually trust you, know you and like you, they're not going to move any quicker. But if you're on a webinar or you're on a video or they've come in the office and you're providing a bit of value, that's going to speed that process up, definitely.
No, I agree. I think the trust element is just crucial in all parts of business, isn't it? And it's pretty much just sort of backs up what we said earlier on about it's that level of communication. If you can get somebody face to face at a landlord seminar, great. If you can't, let's get them on a online webinar or an online event, great. And the more people get to meet you and see that you're a real person, it's the laws of influence. That's why they say, you should write a book or you should become a public speaker, because you build that trust up so much easier.
Well, the other thing is, people always say, why do we need to be doing video? And, the first thing with video is that if you do it consistently, they become familiar with you. And if they become familiar with you, that's where it builds trust. As soon as someone gets to know you and they see you every week and they're familiar with you, and they know that they think they relate to you and you're not a threat, then that builds trust, just seeing you on a regular basis. So, yeah, you're right. Definitely right.
Yeah.
So some really good points there. The other thing that we were chatting about was good culture in your agency. Explain that one.
Yeah. So because I've just run this online event, and one of the topics was how to have a high performing culture or team winning culture in your business. I've played sport for 30 odd years at a pretty decent level, sometimes a national, international level. And the best teams I've been played in and against, and had my ass handed to me a couple of times, were the ones that had the best culture. And you can just tell, you just see when a team has a good culture. And it's not about like your best pals or you go for drinks on a Friday evening or anything like that. A winning culture is pretty much that everybody will do what it takes within the realms of morals and ethics to make sure that the team wins. Obviously, there's going to be individual winnings, but there's going to be the team wins. You look at any team that wins, you know, the England cricket team at the minute, for all you cricket fans, are going through a little bit of a resurgence with Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum as captain and coach, respectively. And we've just beaten Pakistan in Pakistan, which is notoriously hard to go and do. Yeah. And we beat them pretty convincingly, with all things considered. You know, giving them a declaration. I won't go into the details. And if you listen, and there's some really good standout performances, and if you listen to them, everyone is of the same opinion. You know, the team did well. Yeah, but you scored a century, Harry Brook. Yeah, I did anyway. But the team played well together. Or, Ollie Robinson got a few wickets. Yeah, but the team did well. It's not about individual performances. Yes, they perform very well as individuals, but out of a team of 11, if you get 4 or 5 people performing at world-class level, that's a world-class team. Mm-hmm. All you need to do is everybody else, the other 6 or 7, just perform average. And then you've got 4 match winners. And that's the same mentality taken into your business. But I separate them as worker bees and rock stars. And I say roughly it's a 20-40. You want 80-20. I'll get it right. Adds up to 100, 80-20. Pareto. So the 20% are your rock stars, and those are the ones that your managers and your high performance, high achievers. And everybody else is just your worker bees. And so long as your worker bees come in 9 to 5, give everything they've got, don't expect any more. That's it, fine. The rock stars are the ones that are going to be like, the work in the weekends, coming in early, doing late, working through the lunch, doing what it takes to get the job done in line with the values and stuff. And it's very difficult. You definitely don't want a team of rock stars, because they will just stand and scrape over each other just to get to the top of the mountain. But a nice proportion of, 80-20 rock stars, worker bees. And one of the things that I found in everything is having that common goal. So everybody's aiming towards it. So if we achieve, I achieve. That's the mentality. If we achieve something together, then I achieve as an individual. Communication, again, it just goes through good business. It just cuts through the middle. You can't over communicate, but you can overshare. So, motivate. Come on, Paul, you can do it. You can do it. Oh yeah, great. Come on, you sell another house. Come on, mate. There's nothing wrong with that. Oversharing is like, oh, Paul, I've just took another 10 grand out of the bank account, or I've just done this, or that's oversharing. But over communicating is completely different. And I think we don't communicate well enough as business owners. I think we expect people to understand and know what we want and just be mind readers. So I think one tip for everybody going into next year is have better, more concise, but regular meetings with people. Having the daily huddles. People who have morning meetings longer than 10 minutes, you're wasting your time. Like 5 to 10 minutes on a morning, that's all it needs to be. Nothing amazing has happened overnight, because you communicate naturally with people during the day anyway. Like, well done, keep going. Any help? Yeah. Nothing has happened overnight, and it's just the morning. You just want a short, sharp morning huddles. Boom. What's Paul going to do? What's John going to do? What's Jerry going to do? Right, let's go for it. Do it. And I think if we can take that in the next year, I think if everyone tries it, it should make a big difference.
Yeah, no, I think there's some really good points there. What would you say some of the best agents do then to make this happen on a consistent basis? Obviously,
like a good culture.
Yeah.
So I think having a process to recruit people on values.
Okay, so you need to start that early.
Yeah, start that early, because it's allowing people onto the bus. So if your business is a bus and you've got a direction you're heading in, your goals and your mission statement, you've got a manager and MD driving the bus, which is the bus driver. People think you should be the bus driver. You're the conductor. You're allowing people on and off the bus.
Yeah,
and then just getting the right bums on the right seats. So recruiting at an early stage, having the right training development in there. I think hiring slow, firing fast is a big one. If somebody doesn't fit your values and your culture set, is just get rid. And then the 4 documents that we talk about is your value statement. So it's like, what are your values? And you've got to live and breathe them. Your mission statement, which is where you're heading as a business. And think of a mission statement as like, you know, the old World War II films where we stormed the beaches and it was either the mission was a success or a failure. Your mission statement is a success or a failure, and make it about a 5 to 10 year mission. If it's too big, i.e. 10 years plus, people are going to think, well, what's the point? If you can achieve it by next week, people are going to think, well, that was easy. It's got no meaning. It's got no gravitas. So having a mission and saying that's where we're heading as a business. I think having a what we call a customer service charter, which is your definition of what good customer service is, because again, that forms culture. And the last thing is having a list of non-negotiables. So things like rules that you will not take a step back on. So the All Blacks, the rugby team, who've won more games than any other team in history over the last century, they've got a rule of 50. They've got a list of 15, and one is things like sweep the sheds. And what that means is nobody's too big to do the little jobs.
Right.
We've got one called Moana, which means the tip of the spear, which is a family that we all head towards the singular point together. You know, we've got one called a no dickhead rule. And it says no dickheads, be an exceptional teammate. You know, so things like that where you can, and the reason you've got this is because culture is very hard to define. I mean, if I asked you, Paul, you'd come up with an answer probably different to mine. And Jerry would come up with different to mine because me and him have talked about it. But if you've got these list of rules that if anything goes wrong, you go, oh, no dickhead rule, or oh.
Yeah, I was about to say, how often do you refer back to them? Is it only when things go wrong, or do you consistently refer to them?
Well, if you've got your one-to-ones, your monthly one-to-ones, they get referred to then, okay. And when anything goes wrong. But also whenever if you have like a quarterly get-together or a quarterly update or a town hall meeting or whatever you call it in your business, where you're giving updates and stuff, you know, just always refer back to it. Have it on posters on the wall. So we've got our mission statement, our customer service charter, and our values all on posters on the wall, like in the training room or the canteen or the bait room in the branches, but also up front so our customers can see it. And it's like, if anything goes wrong, if you're 5 minutes late, I can go, Paul, how are you? How is that in line with our mission statement of being the best in the Northeast when you can't even be on time? And if you do something or say something, we can haul you up and you say, so Castledean's values are be better. So if you weren't being better, I could easily relate that to the values. So values of intangible, they're so difficult to like sort of measure.
Yeah.
Because you can't pinpoint them, you can't feel, taste, or touch them. But if you can see them, you can measure against them. And those 4 documents form what we call the culture. I used to call it the company defining documents, but I've changed it to the culture defining documents. You get them in your business, they will define your culture. And once you've got something you can manage it on, you can now manage performance or lack of values against those documents.
And do those, would you say those documents change? You know, does the culture change? Do you have to be always looking at those documents and what's in them?
I mean, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. So your values are your values. They shouldn't change. If they change, you've got to say why. And it was probably a belief rather than a value. So belief can change. A belief can literally be like, you know, at the beginning of every season, I believe that Sunderland football team is a good football team. And then, you know, 5 games in, I realised how shite they were. So it happens every year. But a belief can change just with new information. A value shouldn't. And a value is something that, you know, your parents brought you up with, your brother, your sister, your uncle, whoever, they sort of help shape that. So your value shouldn't change. Your mission statement should only change once you achieve it.
Yeah.
Customer service shouldn't really change because good customer service, you can add to it. I'm not saying you can't change it, but it should roughly be like 90-95% of what it is for at least, you know, the foreseeable future. And your non-negotiables as well, those rules, those should roughly stay the same. But you should always review them. It's a good policy to review them, but you would look at me and go, yeah, they're still brilliant. Yep, still 100% on board with that. Like we did change our values, funny enough, but we added to it. So ours were be better, give a better customer service, be a better teammate. Be a better teammate, give a better customer service, something else. and we said, and we just added together we are better. And the reason we added together we were better is because we were buying all these various branches with different brands, and we were getting some branches that were close to each other. The areas overlapped, and it was like, no, that's mine. It's like, it shouldn't actually, it's closer to that one. So that's why we added together we are better. So just to sort of say to everyone, although you're James Wynn and Hegarty's and Gordon Lamb and Castledine and whoever, we are a collective team together. So we added to it, reviewed it, and then we added it. But if you give it a go, it makes a big difference.
I was about to say, what sort of impact have you seen? Because obviously you've dealt with a lot of businesses who perhaps haven't got this in their business. What sort of impact do you see, and what sort of immediate impact do you see with this?
The immediate impact is really strong, as in there's not many things I can guarantee with coaching and training development, but I can guarantee this, that everyone who puts the heart and soul into this gets really, really good results. Absolutely guarantee it. And it's because the owners have got now something tangible to manage people who don't have the same values or poor culture. They can change it now. So if people gossiping, we've all had it. People turning up late. People are getting you the results, but having a face like a smacked ass, right? So you can now manage people, where before it was difficult. It was like, well, I'm selling your houses, Paul. I'm making you loads of money. What's your problem? Just because I come in a little bit grumpy now and again. What's your issue?
Yeah,
you can manage them now. Yeah, you can manage that now. And it's a case of, listen, that's one part of it. Your results are one part of it, but your values and the culture is another part of it. And as business owners, what we do is we let people get away with things because, they're making us money. They're selling houses. So I can't say anything of that value because who else is going to do the job? What you don't realize is not only are you not doing your business any justice because you're not, managing that person on the values and the intangibles, everybody else is getting pissed off. Everyone else in your business is thinking, he's an idiot. I'm either looking for somewhere to go on and contemplating it. There was a really good survey, it must be getting on 8, 9, 10 years ago. I can never find it when I look for it, by Harvard Business Review. And they interviewed like 10,000 people in America. And what they said is, if we could give you one thing to make your job better and easier, what would it be? And they had a list of like a dozen things. And it was things such as more money, flexi time, better equipment, blah, 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 loads of stuff. 65% of people said, give me better colleagues to work with.
Is that what they said? Wow.
65%. Basically, if he's getting away with it and he's a dickhead, I've got to cover for him. So not only am I concentrating on what I've got to do on a day-to-day basis, I'm worried that he's dragging the team down. So I'm either covering for him, or I've got to fill in gaps, or I'm just going to concentrate on me, but he's not allowing us to hit collective bonus. So that's why when people say, I don't want to rock the boat, right? That bad apple rots, and it spreads to the other apples. And before you know it, that's how culture descends.
It does, and it sets examples. If there's younger people in the office or the company, and they don't know what is normal, then it's an example as well, isn't it? It sets an example.
There's a really good story, and it's about monkeys. And I don't know if it was true or not, but I hope it was, because it's a really, really good experiment. And they basically put 5 monkeys in a room, right, in a laboratory environment, and they put some step ladders and a huge bunch of bananas at the top. One of the monkeys went up to get the bananas, and they sprayed all the monkeys with water. So they grabbed him down and they give him a little slap around, as monkeys do. Another one went to get up, and he got halfway up, they sprayed him with water, and he pulled him down to give him a kicking. A third one went to go up, and he wasn't even sprayed with water, and they pulled him back, and they give him a kicking. What they then did is they took one of the monkeys that had been sprayed with water and put in a new monkey, took him out, put in a new monkey that hadn't been sprayed with water. First thing he did, he went up to get the bananas, they pulled him back and started slapping him about. They then replaced an old monkey with a new monkey, and the same thing happened again. And before they knew it, all 5 monkeys were replaced with brand new monkeys. None of them had actually been sprayed with water. None of them had actually tried to get up the ladder to get the bananas, but none of them tried, because that's just the way it was.
That'd be amazing if that's true.
Do you know what? It's one of the ones I hope is true, but that's how culture happens.
Yeah.
A culture is an unwritten rule of a norm.
Yeah.
And that's what a culture is. So unwritten rule is it's okay if I'm 5 minutes late on a Friday morning. It's okay if we put our coats on at 10 to 5 on a Friday afternoon because we finish anyway. It's all right. It's only a Saturday. I'll come in 10 minutes late. It's fine. So that's how we've got to build. We've got to break culture. So I love this sort of stuff. It's dead interesting. You get the culture right in a business, you've cracked it.
Yeah, brilliant. So I wanted to one thing that I wanted to just discuss was a shift away from manicured video content, and something that agents really need to think about next year is that not doing video has often been the case because a lot of agents think it's a lot of effort and it has to be perfect and has to look really good. But I've been testing sort of reels, also TikToks and shorts, which are all short form video, which really is very quick to create and put out there. And some of the results have been pretty amazing with what it's done. So for me, it's probably reconnected me with a lot of people that I used to probably hear from and speak to regularly. And I haven't done much difference. It's just that I'm using those platforms now regularly and they're seeing me more often. So when we talk about content on Reels, stories, or TikTok, we're talking about short form video, which is anything from 15 seconds probably to 90 seconds long. And it's not singing and dancing. Don't go to my TikTok channel and think you're going to see me singing and dancing, by the way. Definitely not that. So educational videos, entertaining videos in different ways. But really what it does do, it does, going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's definitely taking people through a know, like, and trust, because they're seeing me more often and they're learning and just getting to know me. And someone that I follow said, one thing he's noticed definitely more of a sort of an emotional connection. There's definitely something that happens there on those platforms where they're seeing you more regular and they're seeing you in a way where that they're enjoying what they're hearing and seeing, and it's really working. So I think the main message is, next year, don't put video off. There is still a need for that polished video, that nice video of the property tour that goes on your website, or YouTube, maybe in the full location of YouTube. But definitely don't shy away from video because it can be done quickly. 15 to 90 seconds long to give someone a quick tip or a bit of advice. It's something that doesn't take long at all, but if it's done regularly, it can have a real impact on your business.
So in terms of the short reels, do you think, because another one is like, it's time, right? You've got Instagram reels, you've got TikTok, you've got Facebook, YouTube. And I agree with you, by the way, that video is definitely the place that we all need to be doing more of, not just for me and you and our coaching, but also in our businesses. Is each one, I know, is each one as important as the other for the time being? TikTok's definitely going to blow up in a couple of years' time. Is that what we should be concentrating on?
Yeah, I think it's that omnipresent feeling of you being everywhere, and you've got these distribution channels, which that's what they are. Think of them as distribution channels of putting your message out. Video is conversation on scale, and you've got these distribution channels, which at the moment, most of them are free. You can pay for adverts, and that's something that obviously can be very powerful. But the distribution on Reels, on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts, they're pretty much competing with each other at the moment for the audience to, people to use the platform. So what they're doing is they're turning up the free exposure, and you only have to look at Meta with Reels. That is their competition against TikTok. So they know they've got to give people what they want, and what everyone wants is exposure. So if you're putting Reels out at the moment, they will give you lots of organic free exposure. But also they're very much a discovery platform in that they allow people to be found. So there's a lot of different types of social media platforms out there, but on TikTok and even on Reels now, it's more of a discovery platform where Reels and TikTok will suggest your videos to people they feel would enjoy them. So automatically it's pushing it out to people who thinks that would enjoy that content. So yeah, brilliant way to get exposure, brilliant way to get that know, like, and trust. And the algorithms of these platforms are so advanced now. So, you know, if I see, for example, a reel of John dancing on Friday night, the chances are when I go on Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to see other videos of you, and that's something which is just something that you shouldn't ignore. You know, if you can put a couple of short videos out each week, people are going to then continuously see your content, and that missing part of getting to know, like, and trust you that can be closed pretty quickly.
Do you know what's quite scary? You're right about the algorithms. So as you know, we're building this this software called Prospector Pro, myself and a business partner. And Adam's the tech guy. So I'm coming in from a business marketing contact perspective. He's the tech guy. And we're building AI, artificial intelligence and machine learning into it. My God, it is scary. So he was telling us yesterday, there's various, like, you know, front end and back end codings and algorithms for AI. They reckon we're 25 to 30 years away from a machine to think for itself. Now, that sounds like a long period of time, but it's going to be like a hockey stick curve where for a machine to learn by itself, it has to be taught by a human. And it's not a case of, right, you sit down with it and you go through your times tables. It's a case of you feed like Shakespeare's works into it, and it'll regurgitate it in like literally a nanosecond. It happens that quick. But for instance, so what we're doing, right, is so it's an outbound call center software. So it records all your sales calls. The AI, the artificial intelligence, will transcribe it to text. We'll look for set patterns, words, phrases, long pauses, interruptions when you talk over the top of them, negative things, positive things, and do a report like that. It will then score it, and if you get 2 or 3, or however many you want, because you can tell it, I want 3 bad calls in an hour, it will then transcribe those calls, score it, do a report, and send it to your manager. So before, like a call center, you could wait months and months and months before someone actually listened into your call to see if you were doing a crap job.
Yeah.
The computer does it now.
Yeah.
And it'll learn your tonality, and it'll learn, you know, the first couple you've got to say, no, John just speaks with a silly accent, so that means this or that means that. It'll learn.
Do you know what? There's the two things that to share with you on this is that they're already making phone calls as well, a lot of these AI machines, because I've had a couple where I'm on the phone, I'm thinking, is this a real person or not?
Yeah.
You know, it used to be the old robotic voice and you knew it was someone fake. And it's like you say, it's looking for those pauses or those replies, and then it's triggering a response. And then once it gets the response it wants, then obviously probably a human jumps on. But there was this other story, just to follow about AI. Facebook, I think it was about 5 years ago, they turned on a new algorithm, so a really powerful algorithm. And you know how many data points Facebook's got. It's got all this information, and it was supposed to be the next big thing. They turned it off after a couple of hours because it started thinking for itself, and it started doing some really dodgy stuff. Yeah, so that's the rumor that got out from Facebook, because you never heard about it again, and they had to turn it all down. But yeah, algorithms can be very, very powerful. AI.
There's another one as well. They've just done an AI chess computer. So there was one called Stockfish, which is meant to be the bee's knees, and that like kicked Garry Kasparov and Magnus Carlsen, who's the greatest chess player ever. Love my chess at the minute, and it's kicked their ass, and you know, blah blah blah. It's not like when Kasparov beat Big Blue back in the 80s or something. Like, you should never be able to beat Stockfish. And they've done an artificial intelligence one that done to Stockfish what Stockfish has been doing to humans. It trapped its queen in the corner, and Stockfish apparently just went, meh. It just overmelted in that, because it was like, can't compute. You can't trap a queen. Like, it's an impossibility, and it just trapped its queen right in the top right-hand corner, and Stockfish went there. So scary.
So on that note, Terminator is coming back.
Don't watch Terminator at Christmas, because it's a reality.
So we're all going to have nightmares now watching Terminator. So on that note, I think we'll end there and just say happy Christmas to everyone. We don't see you before or speak to you before. John, have a great break. I think I'll speak to you before, but have a great one if we don't. And we'll all catch up with you all in the new year. Have a great one, everyone.
See everyone.